Fallout Season 2 was a crazy journey, and somehow I feel that the middle of this show was some of the best. Welcome back, everyone. We're here to talk about Fallout Season 2 in its entirety in this full season review. I am excited to talk about this season because it's been quite a journey for me. Before we get into this a little bit more, I want to know, how do you feel about Fallout Season 2? And how are you feeling going into Fallout Season 3? What are some of your theories about what we're going to see in Season 3? Because I have some, and maybe I'll even do a video on theories, and maybe I'll shout out some of your theories in that video. There's just an attention to detail when it comes to crafting this world and staying true to the games, the items that are in them, but also the tone and the vibe of the locations that we're in that I have absolutely loved. And I think with Season 2, and this was my takeaway from watching the premiere, we had actually upped the game just in terms of the level of detail and the work and craftsmanship that they really put in to making this show. Visually, I think this show is also kind of beyond compare. Something that I really love about Amazon Prime is that I feel like they do put a lot of work and a lot of money into creating these worlds that we get to explore. And it's something that I also love about Rings of Power, and that I love about Fallout is that when we go into the universe, it just feels so real. Like I feel like I'm actually in the wasteland. Even when there are these big bombastic moments happening, like when we have Maximus leaving the Brotherhood and there's that big explosion in the background, it feels real. When we're using de-aging technology on actors like Kyle MacLachlan, who plays Hank, Lucy's dad, I felt like all of that looked amazing. Everything that they do visually in this show, I think they absolutely nailed. Now, when it comes to the story of Season 2, I think that we've had some cool journeys with our main cast, and there have also been some interesting new characters incorporated into the show and new actors playing some characters that were already introduced. Like, I like what we did with Mr. House. I like how he was introduced in this show in the early episodes, and I like how he felt like this presence kind of looming the entire time. But when it comes to the way that everything wrapped up, I feel that some of the things that we introduced were not as satisfyingly wrapped. So Mr. House is a cool character, and I love that we had him here, but ultimately I feel what we did with him in Season 2 was not much. He was really more of almost an exposition character, where he was there to tell us a little bit about our main cast and what they're focusing on in the future, Hank's journey to try to perfect this automaton conversion device. And for example, also with the ghoul and his journey and his past. There's a lot that we're using Mr. House for in terms of building out the character of the ghoul and the character of Cooper Howard. And I thought that that was great in terms of what it did for Walton Goggins' character. But I also feel that we just could have done a little bit more with him, and that he didn't really feel like a character in his own right, more that he was there to serve the purpose of other things in the story. And so we didn't get to know him quite as well as I would have liked. Granted, I do appreciate that in the season finale, they referenced basically the Wanderer, which is the character you play in New Vegas, and I thought that was really cool. I think there is some amazing flourishes in this show when it comes to highlighting the games and showcasing it. And even though I just started playing the game near the end of Season 2, so I'm just getting into all of that now, I think that there's going to be a lot of stuff that as I go through, I'm going to have a deeper appreciation for in Season 2, because there's just so many references to New Vegas and that game. And so far, I'm really loving the game. Like, I understand why a lot of people say New Vegas is their favorite Fallout game. Playing it may change my perception of what my favorite Fallout game is. So I think the fact that we chose New Vegas to theme this season around was a strong choice. I also feel like there are some other characters that are just kind of here and don't really get as much to do as well, that I would have loved to see more of them and more of their journey. But I think the problem with the show is ultimately when you have so many characters, it's really hard to make every character's story feel as impactful or as meaningful. I think overall we did a pretty decent job with the three main characters, but when it comes to, Mr. House, when it comes to the Legion and Macaulay Culkin's character, who is now the new Caesar, But, the Legion calls him Kaisar. Even with Norm, I feel like, and Steph, I think that there was so much more that we could have showcased for those characters, but you have to pick and choose what you're showing. You don't want to overdo it. And I think Norm's journey is going to be really cool in season 3. I'm very curious to see what happens to Steph. I love that we got some of the Canadian history in Fallout. I thought we did some really cool world building things ultimately in season 2. But I think that the main arcs of the characters were the things that left me wanting a little bit more. And maybe we could have done that if we added a few more episodes to season 2. That could have been a way to approach that. Maybe instead of having 8 episodes, we had 10 episodes. But, they already spent a lot of money on this show. And I do think that one thing I appreciate about it is that it never feels like it overstays its welcome. It is a very tight show. Every scene that I watch, every shot that they put in here feels important, feels vital. There's a lot of moments where you have to watch the show to understand what's really going on. It's not a show you can have in the background. You want to be paying attention to it. There's some other characters that we also haven't seen more of that I'm hoping we're going to get more of in season 3, like our super mutant, who was of course played by Ron Perlman, who is the narrator in Fallout New Vegas, I believe. And I thought that was really cool that they brought him in, but I'm hoping that he's going to have more than like a little cameo, just because he is Ron Perlman. So, I feel like we should utilize that. But, we're headed towards the Enclave with season 3. And I think the Enclave and that journey is going to open up a lot more possibilities for our characters and different ways that we can explore them. And I am intrigued and interested in that. But I hope with season 3, we can do a little bit better to make sure that all of the characters that we're showcasing here have journeys that feel complete. Because in season 2, in some cases, like with the Ghoul, I felt the Ghoul's character was more on this kind of flatline journey where we didn't get much progression. A lot of the progression for the Ghoul is in the Ghoul's past in terms of character development. That's more what we see with Coop than what we see with the Ghoul. The Ghoul has just been on this grueling journey to get to his family, only to find out his family isn't there. So that to me was a little dissatisfying, even though I expected that we weren't going to see the family because everything's all frosted up in those tubes. And I'm just saying, if you're not going to show it to me when you're showing me the tubes that they're in, probably no one's in there. That was kind of what I expected to happen, but also as a result of that, it was a little dissatisfying because something that I've enjoyed about Fallout is that it's a bit of an unpredictable show. And even as someone that has played some of the games and really enjoys the world of Fallout and enjoys the games, I don't really know where the show is going, and it throws me a lot of curveballs, and that is something that I like about it. Granted, in season 2, we still got a good amount of those. I definitely was not expecting them to show us Liberty Prime at the end. That was a fun little post-credits in the finale. And when I was doing my review for the finale episode, I was so wrapped up in other things that I totally forgot to mention it. But I love that Liberty Prime is here, and I am very interested to see what that means for where we're headed in season 3. The fact that Quintus has that, I'm very nervous. And I feel that Maximus, maybe if he joins up with the NCR, they might clash with the Brotherhood again. And what will that look like? What will season 3 look like for the Brotherhood? I'm very intrigued. And I do think that the Brotherhood had some of the best world building and the best storylines, I think, in this season. I also feel like Lucy is just really well done. Ella Purnell does a great job playing Lucy, and they just give her so much to work with in the show. And so her journey in this season has been very satisfying. We've had really crazy highs and really crazy lows, and it's just cool to see her character really becoming three-dimensional as time is going on. And I'm very curious for what her and Maximus's journey will be like as we head into season 3, and how they have changed in their time apart, and how that will change their relationship with one another. Will it change their relationship? They've been trying to, well, Maximus has been trying to get back to Lucy, and I think Lucy is super excited to see Maximus at the end of season 2, but will that remain so as we see now who these characters have become? And examine some of the costs of them reuniting. So overall, I feel like season 2 was a really fun ride. I think the middle of the show is some of the strongest episodes, which is interesting because most shows it's the opposite. And the fact that they were able to keep me very engaged and very hyped through the middle of the show and built that hype is impressive. I wish the ending was a little bit more explosive, but I think there's a lot of cool things that have been teased for where we're headed next. And I gotta say, doing a Deathclaw pack fight for your finale, pretty amazing. And having the NCR march in, oh, I'm so glad that it was true and that the NCR wasn't done, you know? But now the Legion will also be on the rise, so there's gonna be a lot of things changing in New Vegas. And who knows where our characters will even be in the next season as the ghoul heads for Colorado to try to find his family. I think overall this season was still spectacular. It's not my favorite show of the year thus far because there's just some other ones that are honestly insanely good. But Fallout Season 2 definitely is, I would say, about as good as Season 1 was, and potentially even better than Season 1 in terms of the world building, but maybe not as satisfying for some of the character development and narratives. Still, we're building up some cool stuff for Season 3. That's all I have for this one. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. And until next time, as always, friends, stay nerdy. Bye! And if you like hearing me talk about amazing shows, you need to check this out. This blew my mind.